Everybody, welcome to this holiday special. And you're probably wondering, it's February. Which holiday are we talking about? Do you know that there's an unofficial national holiday called Laugh and Get Rich Day? So I invited my friend Cheree Ingram so that we could talk about the power of laughter and money because talk about. And Cheree will introduce herself in a moment to tell us all about herself and why we are talking about this thing today. So Cheree, please tell us who you are.
I'm already laughing. It's because I'm a happyologist. I can't help it, right? So yeah, that's me, Cheree Ingram. I call myself happyologist because I have a master's in positive psychology, which means I love laughter. I love anything about being happy, being positive, and how it relates to our health. So I'm excited to talk about this, Darla. I think it's going to be fun.
It is super going to be fun. So, in case you are watching this because you already know Cheree well, I'll also introduce myself. Hi, I am Darla Bishop. I am founder of Finance Sis LLC, where we believe that financial wellness is for everyone. And so, when I saw this national holiday and I was like, laugh and get rich, I absolutely need to do something to mark this holiday. And so, here we are. To a fun fact, in case you are not familiar with the holiday, it turns out we were looking up the origins and it's not really clear who founded it, but the whole point is to encourage people to spend the day laughing and be happy because laughter and happiness leads to all types of health benefits and wealth benefits. So, Cheree, one of the things that I wanted to ask you because you are a happyologist, is that an official title?
It is. It really is.
I love that.
Well, look, what it is all right. So there's evidence-based research based on how happiness actually affects your health. And included in that body of research is laughter. So when you laugh, when you think about it, you're breathing, your heart's racing faster, your blood pressure raises, and it's just like cardiovascular exercise. In fact, research shows that after laughing, 45 minutes later, your muscles are still relaxed. So,
Mm.
you want to go to the gym, sweat on the treadmill, or do you want to have some jokes and laugh?
Do all three at the same time. Well, maybe not. I saw in getting ready for our conversation today, I did see at least one study. I didn't get a chance to really validate that said that laughter burns calories. Do you know if that's true?
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
no,
well,
I took it too
cardiovascular
far.
exercise does burn calories, right? So the theory is, your heart's racing faster, your blood pressure's up. So you probably are burning some more than if you were just sitting there snoozing or reading a book, certainly. But I don't think
Okay,
it's like included in part of your weight loss program. I don't think it's going to work that way.
okay. I like that. I appreciate that. So next time I'll fact check better. So if for the people who are listening, do you remember when I approached you with this and you were like, yes? Well, first of all, you almost always say yes to me, and I appreciate you for that. But like, what was it that you were like, okay, yeah, we could come up with something and have fun with it?
Well, so here it is. Like I said, I love talking about happiness because I believe that when you feel good, if it's not just what I believe in or what I feel about, research shows that when you feel better about yourself, about life, you're healthier. It's like a cycle, right? Because they say, oh, if you're depressed, you need to exercise. So you exercise and then you're happier. And then when you're happier, you exercise. So it's like a win-win-win-win, right? So what I wanted to do was talk about the fact that yes, there's research that talks about how this happiness affects your health. And then once you get the money, right? Because I said, oh, wait, what did I just bring up money for? Because those same research studies show that happier people make more money.
Right.
Now, I know that sounds crazy. And when I give workshops, I always look at people and I'm like, who here believes that if they have more money, they'll be happier? And because people know they shouldn't say yes, like they just know that, right? Nobody raised their hand. I raise my hand. I'm like, I do, and I'm a happyologist, and I know the research says no. I say, put me in the study, test me, give me some money, and see if I'm not happier. So the way it works is yes, after a certain point, more money would make you happy because you think about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If your needs aren't met, you're not going to be happy, right? Home, food, shelter, all the basic stuff. But there's a certain threshold, and I believe the most recent study is in 2023. It's like $300,000. It's like the threshold. After that, your happiness actually starts to decline. So I want to talk about that, right? Like share that what I just did. But then the reason why I want to hook up with you, Darla, is because you know all about how to save money, make money, do more with your money. Because here's the thing: they just said after $300,000, you actually start to decline. Well, what if it's even under $300,000 and you have the money, but you don't know how to manage that? You can't tell me you're not going to get stressed because you don't know how to save, you don't know how to budget, you don't know what to do with it. So I thought the combination of you giving those kind of tips, me saying how it makes you happy and healthier, it was good.
Yeah, and the great thing, something you said is something I tell people all the time when I'm in workshops or I'm even coaching them about their money, is that if we could get you on a life spiral, because you've heard of a death spiral, right? Oh, that doesn't sound very happy. But we could actually get you on a life spiral, because if we can get you in motion to a plan for your money, to where you are able to save, where you're able to grow it, where you're paying off debt, as soon as you get a couple of wins, and this is evidence-based, your confidence grows. When your confidence grows, your creativity returns. And so that you actually get more creative, more excited about finding ways to continue to improve your financial situation. And I have a degree in public health. I have a few degrees in public health. And so it is absolutely evidence-based that when you are financially stable, it is far easier to have all the other parts of your health be stable. Just think about it. So one of the things that I talk about sometimes, and so people are probably bored with hearing it, if you tell me your zip code, I can actually tell you a lot about not only your credit score, but your life expectancy and which diseases you are likely to encounter over the course of your life. And part of it is because where you live also determines where you go to school, how much pollution that you are exposed to, whether and how easy it is to get access to fresh, nutritious foods, how easy it is to fit exercise into your day, or if you have to go do something specifically, like go to a gym or go to a class, or even leave your neighborhood to be physically active, and also the community level stress. And so guess what determines your zip code? It's usually how much money you have, how much you can pay in rent or mortgage. And so if you have slightly more financial resources, you have a lot more choice about where you live, and that could make the difference. And we work in DC. There's a map, a very famous map about where different people, based on where they live on the subway map, that there's up to a 9-year difference just a few miles away in
Wow.
terms of life expectancy. And that's just the years. That's not even talking about the quality of their life. Were they happy? Were they managing diseases? Were they managing stress? Were their children able to grow and thrive? Right? And so if we can laugh and get rich, it will pay dividends. And I meant that pun. It will pay dividends for your health and well-being.
I like that pun. And you know what you made me think about is we call it the happiness pie in positive psychology. So if you think of it as a pie, 50%, they said, of your happiness is based on your genetics. 10% is life circumstances. And then the other 40% is your own volition. That means your will. You have control over that, your lifestyle. So that 10%, when you think about that, it's like life circumstances, where you live, your zip code, some of that is predetermined for you because where you're born and where you grew up. But they did this study with twins, and what they determined was a set of twins, one, they were separated at birth. And that happens quite frequently, more than you would think. And they studied the trajectory of their lives and how successful they were, happy, healthy, and that type of thing. And that's where they came up with this percentage. And so when you think about it, if 50% is genetics and the other part, you have control over that, or how you live or your lifestyle is based on that, then all those factors that you just talked about, right? They play into how healthy you are, how happy you are because of your health, or if you're worried about danger all of the time, right? It's going to affect how happy you are. And, I'm getting back to the laughter component. If you're kind of scared or you're stressed, it's kind of hard to go from 0 or -1 into, oh, ha, 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 right? So, I mean, it's just how it is. But if you are pretty much good natured and you're feeling good about life and you're feeling good, you're going to be more inclined to laugh. And what we're talking about today is you laugh and then you get rich, right? And oh, just one other thing too. Epigenetics, there's research in epigenetics that show that even that 50% genetic piece, you have control in changing that as well.
I was going to ask, because I was like, ooh, 40, 50%. That's much higher than I would have expected.
Yeah.
So how would I control that if I have genes that tell me to be slightly less happy? Like, because I imagine it's a range, right? Like, so if my genes kind of predispose me against being happy, what could I do?
Well, you know what? I feel like we both practice this, but you just said the perfect thing leads into what I'm calling the happiness point. So everyone's born with a different happiness point because you're absolutely right. You may have been born with some kind of genes that, some people are just quieter and some people are just kind of cranky. We love them anyway, but they're just kind of cranky, right? Well, everyone has their set point. And if you think of it from a scale of 1 to 10, right? You may be a 4, a 6, an 8, whatever. It doesn't matter because that's your set point. And what studies show is that you can do things like I'm going to share, what we call the PERMA, positive emotions, engagement, uh, positive relationships, having meaning in your life, and achievement. That's what the A is for in PERMA. You can practice these type of actions in your life and you will actually increase your set point. So no matter what you were born with, your happiness set point can go up. Just like when you go to the gym, right? You start off being plain old Jane, right? And you're just blob maybe. And you go to the gym, you start looking good, you get cut a little bit, get a little waistline, you feel kind of good about yourself. And then you feel so good about yourself, you start eating those bonbons again, eating chips, laying back on the sofa, drinking beer, all the stuff that's not really that great for your body on a continuous basis. And then you go back to the way you were. So happiness is the same way. Wherever your set point is and how you were born, you have the volition, you have the ability to change that through various types of exercises, and you can actually change that. Studies even show that same set point, say you win the lottery. Now that's my favorite one because you know what? Tell me I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to be up here, right? Forget even 10. I'm going to be like up there in positive 100s. But studies show over time, you will eventually go right back to your set point. If it was a 4, you're going to go back to a 4 or 6 or 8. But the good news in that is like grief, right? The loss of a loved one, there's no comparison for that. And some people, when they're down that low, they're like, there's no way I'm going to be normal again. There's just no way. I can't live without that person. But the good news is with a healthy individual with support and all of that, they go right back to wherever their happiness set point is. So that's a good thing. But what comes out of this, if nothing else, is that you can do exercises just like when you go to the gym, and you can increase your happiness set point and you could stay there.
You are blowing my mind because one of the things that, like, even though these aren't the words you used, it's almost like happiness or working on your happiness. Is it a skill that could be learned?
Yeah. Just like when you go to gym, I mean, you don't go in there being Mr. I don't even know what they call me, Mr. Olympia. Is that what those are? Those people who win
Oh,
Olympics?
the bodybuilders.
Right. You don't go in there like that, right? But you learn how to do your weights, you learn how to do your treadmill and those type of things. And if you create a habit about it, which is what I love teaching, is how do you create a habit and doing it on a regular basis, then yes, then it's a lifestyle, it's a skill, and there you go. Because you don't lose it once you know how to do it. You just fall out of it because things in life happen, right? And we all go through those cycles up and down. But the idea and the real benefit of it is to try to stay on an even trajectory throughout that wave going up and down, right?
Yes, and you know what? Like, I talk about this is amazing. This is why Laugh and Get Rich Day is a thing. Because when I'm talking about money, I talk about those same things, right? That if you haven't had a good time managing your money, whatever part of it is, whether it's saving money, whether it's paying attention to your savings, whether it's investing, whether it's paying attention, that these are not things you're necessarily born with. And it's not even exactly the same way that the grown-ups around you did things when you were growing up, right? Like the adults who raised you that you were around, just because they did things a certain way, or they talked about money a certain way, or they felt a certain way about money, doesn't mean that that's automatically yours. And in fact,
A good
you
point.
can, yeah, like it's a skill that you can learn and grow and even like a little bit of a muscle.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, do you find that people say, "Oh, well, I don't really need too much money. I just need enough to get by." Like, how do you help those people, Darla, so they can invest for the future or for like things that might happen to them?
Look, most of the people I interact, by the time they get up, it's almost like a courage. They need a courage to reach out to me, to seek someone like me out. They are at the point where they're like, I don't have enough. I need more. So they're in a different place, right? They're looking for more peace. They're looking for more stability. So like, like just like this, right? Like, of course, life has its ups and downs. Same thing with your financial situation, right? Your job could change, your health could change, the type of whether you love your work, all of those things can change. And so the idea is, yes, let it go up and down. The idea is as long as when it's going up and down, it's also still following kind of this upward trajectory over the course of time. And
Yes.
so when people get in touch with me and they're like, well, I'm just in such a bad spot right now, I'm like, okay, but that's just right now. And so what things are working, what things aren't working, what things can we move around to make it at least feel better? Because if you feel better about it, then you'll be a lot more creative about different solutions, different ways to get to a better place. And so I think it's, most of the folks are there's a full recognition like something's not right. This is too hard. I don't think it should be this hard. How can I make it easier? And one of the very first steps we do is I work on how they talk about money. They'll say, well, I'm just so broke right now. I'm like, you never say that again. That's a cuss word.
What is it? I missed that.
Oh, like they might say, I'm just so broke, or like I'm just so poor. Yeah. And it's
There's
because
a whole body of work that talks about your words have power, right? If
they
you say I am
absolutely
so
have
broke, well
power.
then, you're just telling all the energy around you, I'm broke, don't give me any money.
Yes, and the reason why I think it's so effective is because many times we're working through any problem or situation in our life. If we spend all the time in our head about it, it's not nearly as effective as kind of getting out of our head, whether that means journaling, whether that means talking to someone. Um, but one of the things that is so powerful about the fact that your words can help you change things is when you have these patterns, because it's also a habit, right? These habits or patterns about how you talk negatively about yourself, about your situation, about your money, your brain is hearing that as you say it. And
Yeah.
so if you say different things, even if they're not 100% true yet, like I am getting better with money, your brain hears that and a new synapse is formed. If you
That's
say,
right.
things aren't great right now, but I know they're getting better, your brain hears that and a new synapse is formed. I know that, I haven't been great in the past, but I can tell I am making progress. Again, a new synapse is formed. And if you keep talking to yourself, eventually it'll just become the truth that I'm great with my money now, that I have money saved. I have been able to put money away in my investment. I have been able to share with my friends and family in the way that feels great to me.
I love that. I didn't realize how similar this was to studying happiness. It's actually the same.
Mhm. So where does gratitude come in? Because I also have found that a gratitude practice, and for people who are like, what the heck is a gratitude practice? From my perspective, and I'm interested to know if you have a different kind of vision of it. For me, a gratitude practice is like just you've trained yourself to be like grateful for things. So it's like even if you have a really crappy day, you're still kind of finding those silver linings. Like, oh man, I burned the toast. Well, you know what? I'm glad I have toast to eat, right? Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh
You
man.
know what though? When I use examples like that, people are like, "So you're just telling me I got to be happy no matter how crappy my life is?" And I'm like, "No, it's not like that." So, gratitude. I'm glad you brought that up though, because gratitude is considered like the granddaddy emotion of positive psychology. Did you know that you practice it for just 2 weeks? Studies show that it'll last in your body for 6 months. Like that's amazing, right? And everyone I hear from people all the time as a life coach, they're always like, "Oh, I do gratitude journal. I do gratitude journal." And that's fine. However, how you do it makes such a big difference. So one, you do something different. You write down 3 things a day, right? Three things you're grateful for, but you should try to come up with different things every day. So what people have a tendency to do is when they're in bed at nighttime, they're doing their journal, they're like, I'm so grateful for my bed and my
Um,
house and my blanket. Because you're cozy, you're safe, you're secure. And that's an easy win, right? But if you try to do it every day, something different, this magical thing happens where just by habit, you talk about that whole neural synapses thing happening,
Mhm.
you start to become an optimist because what your brain
Yes.
does while you're not even paying attention subconsciously, it's looking for positive things that happen, right? Because you're like, there's this little tension in the back that says, we got to write something different in our journal today. What did we find? Is anything happening? Is anything, good things happening? And then you are more aware of the good things that happen. And the more that you're aware of those good things happening, you do become more optimistic. And being more optimistic does give you that confidence. You feel that your life is better. And when you feel that way, that confidence allows you to take risks, right? So when you're talking about that saving money or doing something a little bit different with your money, you're not going to feel like, well, I've been broke for the last 10 years. I'm still going to, you're like, you know what? My life is pretty good. I might listen to Darla Bishop and try that new saving strategy, or maybe I'll budget a little bit differently and save for that rainy day because it's going to make a difference. And so it is a win-win. So doing that gratitude, and I guess the other piece is you do 3 different things every day, but you also got to ask yourself why. It's when you really want to get to that emotion, right? If it's really light, like really shallow, or you're saying, oh, you know what? I'm grateful to have my job. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my water bottle, right? They may very well be true, but you really want to ask yourself, what is it about this water bottle that makes me grateful for it, right? And you can say, well, because it holds my water. Okay, that's fine. You could say, well, it's orange. I like the color orange. Okay. It's easy to carry. All right, so why do you like it? Well, it's helping me stay nourished. Okay, why is that important to you? It's helping me be healthy. Ah, why is that important to you? And you say, you know what? I really want to be healthier this year. I want to be there for my children, my grandchildren, or I want to be able to try a different type of job or go on that vacation. And then you get to the heart of the matter of why it's so important. And that's the turning point. That's what you put in your gratitude journal, because then it makes a difference emotionally. And that emotion, then, you're getting different hormones in your body that's coming up, and you talk about the happiness hormones, but now it sticks in. And that's what truly starts to change that mindset. Change your mindset, change your money.
Oh, seriously. And when I'm working with someone, and someone recently, and I told this story before, so interrupt me if you've heard it already. People know I wrote this book called How to Afford Everything. And so they'll sometimes come up to me and say, well, since you know how to afford everything, how do I get, my wife to let me get a boat? And I'll say, well, let's talk about it. And this particular gentleman said, yeah, I really want to get a boat this year, but my wife is not having it. I was like, well, why do you want the boat? Is it because you feel so great on the water? Is it because if you have the boat, it'll give you an excuse to spend time with your buddies or your relatives? Is it that you just love fishing, and if you had the boat, it would make you prioritize going fishing because now you gotta go, you got the boat? Like, what is it? And he said, well, my parents are getting older, and I thought maybe if we had, and all the nieces and nephews are starting their own families and their own lives. And so I just feel like we haven't all been together for a while, but maybe if I get a boat and we park it near my parents' house, we'll all come together more. And I was like, so the boat is the vehicle, but what you're really after is family time. And I was like, well, what's your birth position? He's like, oh, I'm the oldest. I said, sounds like this is an opportunity to say, I'm the oldest. I'm pulling rank, and we're having a party on this date, and everybody better show up or I'm going to be upset with you. Right. And you could even make it a potluck. So that way you didn't come out thousands and thousands of dollars for a boat for maybe the experience of being all together. You just told everybody to come be all together. And then if you want to rent a boat, fine. Because guess what? That's a one-time expense instead of a multi-year expense. And you can rent all types of things, right? And so if we can get, when people are having trouble with their spending, if that's their issue, or they're not sure how they got into so much debt, if that's their issue, if we can get down to what it is that they really want and why they want it, that becomes so clear, and it makes it much easier to not only make a plan that feels good, but to follow through on that plan that feels good.
Yeah.
There's so much there.
Well, you know, the backbone of positive psychology is that your true purpose in life and everything that you want is really just to be happy, right? You could say you want a house, you want to take a trip, you want to buy a boat, but it all boils down to the same thing, right? He wants the boat to be with family so you can feel good, right? You
Yeah.
want a house so you can be with family and feel good. Take a trip, it's about feeling good. So, you know, I really love how this is just tied up the whole laughter, be happy, and being rich because it is one and the same, Darla. What closing tips do you have for us on like once you're happy, what what would you say? What do you do with the money so you can stay happy, Darla?
So the happiest people are actually very generous. Now, you can be generous no matter where you are. Because remember, generosity isn't only about money. So if you're just at the beginning of your financial wellness journey and you still got debt, you don't have enough saved, whatever there's still room to be generous because you have skills, you have talent. Maybe you don't have all that much money socked away, but you might have time, you might have energy. And so finding ways to build in giving, it is so powerful because one, it reminds you that you do have extra. You might not have extra money, but you might have extra skill. You might not have
They were.
extra, right? You might have extra energy, but maybe you have extra time, right? And so by you being in the position to give something, it reinforces like, okay, actually, I do have something to offer to the world. And when you are generous, people see that and find ways to connect you to other opportunities to not only be generous, but to receive other people's and other places' generosity.
Right? Which is another way of saying being rich, right? It's not just about the money, it's about the relationships, about the social activities with the family, it's about gaining good health. There are many ways to be rich. That's a really nice way to close this out, Darla.
Yeah. And so if you're wondering, because people are probably wondering, does money buy happiness? Yes. Heard it here, folks. Money absolutely buys happiness, not in the ways you think,
Right.
but in lowered stress, in the ability to solve problems quickly, in the ability to take care of the people around you if they have an issue or an emergency. That does make you feel so good. So yes, there are lots of ways that money buys happiness. So go laugh and get rich. Cheree, if people love this conversation, because I'm sure they did, how do they find you?
Oh, they go to chereeingram.com on my website. And I'm actually going to list some things that you can do more to increase, excuse me, increase the happiness in your life. We're going to put a couple of things about laughter because I don't know if you ever tried like laughter yoga. I mean, there's a sure way to just, you know, it's good for your heart, good for your body. You laugh and then you get rich. So, yes, go to chereeingram.com and you can learn more.
Great. And if anyone is looking for tips and tricks on the money, the tactical money part, you can go to howtoaffordeverything.com. There are lots of freebies there. Thanks so much for listening and hanging out with us. Some of the resources will be listed in the comments below.
All right. See you, Darla.
All
Bye.
right. So she's not happy, but it's okay. But one of the things that I